All praises to the Most High, and shalom to all the viewers out there that's tuning in to another episode. What we're going to touch on is a very controversial subject matter within Israel. The topic of, is Cornelius an Israelite or is he a Gentile? Usually when I make these videos, I direct them, and the focal point is to those that are not in this knowledge, those that are coming from a Christian background, Muslim background, those that don't have the knowledge and don't really understand the Bible. But since this is such a controversial topic, I'm going to have to do something different this time. I'm going to have to address those people and also those that are within this realm of knowledge, those that are in the truth, those that have came back to their nationality as Israelites. I'm going to have to address both because this is such a hot topic. So to those that are just coming into the knowledge, you're going to run across this. It's many brothers out there that teach that Cornelius is an Israelite. So you're going to run across that. And I myself used to teach it. I understand the doctrine very well to a T. I understand it because I used to teach it. And I used to teach it to brothers who didn't believe that. Because at that time, I didn't want to hear anything about no Cornelius being a Gentile. So I understand the mentality that goes into Cornelius being an Israelite. I understand it to a T. And it's nothing personal against brothers that teach that at all. Because most of the brothers I deal with, a lot of them believe that. Some don't, some do. It's nothing personal at all. So I'm just going to go at the information so we can find out what the scriptures are really saying. And to those that are on the fence can get another side of the view. A lot of brothers are going to teach Cornelius is an Israelite, but to those that want to see a different perspective, they'll be able to get that in this video. I'm Brother Yerashim. This is the Bible Unlocked. Cornelius the Gentile. Acts chapter 10 verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. So we know that Cornelius lived in Caesarea, which is in the land of Israel, and he was part of the Roman army. He was a centurion, meaning he was over 100 troops. He had 100 troops that were subordinate to him. A devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. And we know that Cornelius was a devout man. This meant that he was keeping the commandments. That's what it means to be a devout man in the scriptures. This man that was in the Roman army was keeping the commandments, and he gave much alms to the people. So he was a devout brother that was giving alms. Keep this in mind. So from these two scriptures, it doesn't give us a clear defining answer onto what nation Cornelius comes from. It doesn't tell us if he was an Israelite or a Gentile. Because when you understand Roman history, in the Roman military, there was people that was from all types of nations that were involved in the Roman military. Mercenaries from different nations. Similar to America today, we have different nation of people that compose of the American army or the American military. So this doesn't let us know nothing. So now we have to dig into other verses and get process of elimination to find out if Cornelius was an Israelite or if he was a Gentile. Acts chapter 2 verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. So now we go back to Acts, the 2nd chapter, and we see that there were also devout men, but these devout men were called Jews. So this means that these were Jews that were keeping the commandments. Let's find out what the definition of Jew is. Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Jew. Originally, it denoted one belonging to the tribe of Judah or to the two tribes of the southern kingdom. So when I used to teach that Cornelius was an Israelite, this is the definition that I would use. Notice that it says originally it denoted. That means in the beginning, when it first became, that's what it was talking about, the southern kingdom. So this is what I would teach to set up the premise on teaching Cornelius is an Israelite. So Jews mean the southern kingdom. But watch what happens when you can continue reading in the definition of Jews. But later, its meaning was extended and it was applied to anyone of the Hebrew race who returned from captivity. So this is the part of the definition that I would totally ignore, teaching Cornelius is an Israelite. And you're going to find out why you have to ignore this part of the definition in order to teach Cornelius is an Israelite. So when it says Jews coming out of every nation, it's talking about Israelites, because Jew originally meant southern kingdom, but later on it didn't mean that anymore. It meant all the Israelites coming out of exile. Follow me. As most of the exiles came from Judah, and as they were the main historical representatives of ancient Israel, the term Jew came finally to comprehend all of the Hebrew race throughout the world. The term Jew was an umbrella term for Israelites, all the 12 tribes. And as we go on in Acts the 2nd chapter, it's gonna back up what the scholars were saying, that Jew does not mean just southern kingdom. And as we continue on with the lesson, you're gonna find out the importance of it. You're gonna find out the importance of understanding what Jew means. That it's not just the southern kingdom, but it's also the northern kingdom. So when it says every nation, there was Jews that came down for Pentecost in Acts the 2nd chapter, it was both southern kingdom and northern kingdom. And we're gonna and it's gonna prove it in the scriptures as we continue going on. Acts 2 verse 9. Parthians and Medes. Parthians and Medes. This is the first group of Israelites on the list. Let's find out where the Parthians and Medes, who is coming out of these nations. If it's the 10 tribes or if it's talking about the southern kingdom. Watch. Zondervan Bible Dictionary. Parthians. Luke's geographical list of the people who were in Jerusalem on the day of Pentecost, Acts 2 verse 9, is headed by Parthians and Medes. By Parthians, Luke no doubt meant all the Jews and proselytes who lived in the old Parthian Empire to the east, known today as Iran. The earliest dispersion of the 10 tribes took place in the eastern countries. So the 10 tribes are the ones that are coming out of these regions. The 10 tribes, that's what the scholars are letting you know. When Israel was taken away, the house of Israel, or the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom, when they were taken into captivity by the Assyrians, they went to the eastern region. They're coming out of these countries right here that's being named. Now, we're going to use the scriptures to back up what the Bible scholars are saying. They're telling you that the 10 tribes were here during the time of Pentecost, included in every Jews out of every nation. Let's use the scriptures to back it up. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Harbor by the rivers of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. In the cities of the Medes. So in Acts the 2nd chapter, the ones that are coming out of the Medes is Jews or Israelites from the 10 tribes that were taken away by the Assyrian captivity. They're coming back out of exile. They're being called Jews because that is the term, the umbrella term for all Israelites, northern and southern kingdom. They're coming to Pentecost to celebrate the feast. This is very important in understanding Cornelius. And and it's gonna be pieced all together. So bear with me, those that are just coming into the knowledge. Bear with me. Acts 2 verse 9. Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea in Cappadocia, in Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes.
So now we know that it is clear that the northern and southern kingdom together were here at the Feast of Pentecost. They were both here. And this is the first brick wall you run into teaching that Cornelius is an Israelite. Because to teach Cornelius is an Israelite, it thrives off of the premise that the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom were not dealing with each other at all. And that's simply not true according to Acts, the 2nd chapter. The premise is you have to make Cornelius be from the northern tribe, because the northern tribe and the southern tribes were not dealing with each other. And that is absolutely not true according to Acts, the 2nd chapter. This is the first brick wall you run into. Now, let's find out who else was at the party other than the northern and southern kingdom. Let's find out who else was there who plays an important role in understanding if Cornelius was an Israelite or a Gentile.
Acts 2 verse 14. But Peter.
But who?
Peter.
Who?
Peter.
This is the same Peter that's going to be dealing with Cornelius in Acts, the 10th chapter. Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. He's seeing both southern and northern tribes together at Pentecost. Keep this in mind, because it's very important when understanding Acts, the 10th chapter, if Cornelius is an Israelite or a Gentile.
Standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken unto my words. Verse 36. Therefore let all the house of Israel know assuredly that God hath made that same Jesus whom ye have crucified, both Lord and Christ.
This is where you run into a steel wall if you teaching Cornelius is an Israelite from the northern kingdom. Who is the house of Israel? That is the house of Israel is the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom. During the time of the kingdom split under Solomon, the 10 tribes became known as the house of Israel. The southern kingdom became known as the house of Judah. But in this context, it's referring to all the tribes, all 12 tribes. That's why he said, let all the house of Israel know. So now we know Peter is dealing with both northern and southern kingdom. This is chopping away at the foundation of the doctrine that Cornelius is an Israelite. It's chopping down the foundation before we even get to Cornelius in Acts the 10th chapter. It's already chopped down because it's not going to make any sense once we go into Acts the 10th chapter at all. Now let's find out what else Peter was doing to the northern and southern tribes.
Verse 38. Then Peter said unto them, Repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ, for the remission of sins, and ye shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost.
Now you've ran into a titanium wall, because now Peter is baptizing both northern and southern kingdom. Both of them. So that means if Cornelius is an Israelite, there should be no problem when we get to Acts the 10th chapter, because Peter's dealing with both northern and southern kingdom Israelites. There should be no problem at all. And there's another question that comes up. If Cornelius was an Israelite from the northern kingdom, since we know the northern kingdom was here, why wasn't Cornelius here in Acts the 2nd chapter at the Feast of Pentecost? He's from the northern kingdom. He's an Israelite. The northern kingdom was in the house. Why wasn't Cornelius here in Acts the 2nd chapter at the Feast of Pentecost? He was a devout man. He was keeping the commandments. Why wasn't he here? You can't answer that question if you're teaching Cornelius is an Israelite from the northern kingdom. You can teach it, or you can come up with an answer dealing with philosophy. You can use your own philosophy, but you're not going to find that answer in the Bible, because Cornelius was not an Israelite. He was not an Israelite at all. He was a devout man. If he was an Israelite, he would have been here at Acts, the 2nd chapter, at the Feast of Pentecost with the rest of the Northern Kingdom brothers. He would have been here. He lived in Caesarea, not too far from Jerusalem. If there was brothers coming from all over the different nations, you know for sure he could have made it there. Now, don't let no brother or sister come up and tell you their philosophy on how he didn't make it. The brothers come up with all type of excuses why he didn't make it now. Oh, he was at war, he was on leave, he was doing it. No, the Bible does not tell you. Why? Because he was not an Israelite, and we're going to prove why he was not there. And it's going to make perfect sense. The doctrine of Cornelius being an Israelite from the Northern Kingdom is already chopped down before we even got to Acts the 10th chapter. It's already chopped down. The premise is faulty. Once you start on a faulty premise, because the premise is that these were all Southern Kingdom brothers here in Acts the 2nd chapter out of all nations. But now we know that is not true. That's the premise. And the premise is faulty. So when you start on a faulty premise, you can bring out 1,000 precepts. You can precept to your neck fall off. You can precept to your hair fall out, and it's still not going to be the correct conclusion. So the premise is faulty on Cornelius being an Israelite. It's not there. It is not there. There's too many brick walls and steel walls that come into the path of trying to teach that. You have to start dabbling in your own philosophy to teach that Cornelius is an Israelite. You got to start coming out of the Bible and teaching your own philosophy in order to come up with that conclusion that Cornelius was an Israelite. Now, let's find out, according to the Bible, why Cornelius was not here in Acts the 2nd chapter. And it's going to make plenty of sense.
Acts 15 verse 14. Simeon hath declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name.
Who is Simeon? This is the same Simon Peter in Acts the 2nd chapter that was dealing with the Northern and Southern Kingdom. This is the same Peter that's going to be dealing with Cornelius in Acts the 10th chapter. So Simon or Peter says the Most High did at first visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. So now we need to find out if these are real Gentiles or if these are Israelite Gentiles, because a lot of brothers are going to say, well, these Gentiles are not talking about real Gentiles. These are Israelites that became Gentiles. Well, let's read the following verses and find out who these Gentiles are.
And to this agree the words of the prophets, as it is written.
As it is written. What does that mean? What he's getting ready to quote, he's getting from somewhere specifically in the Old Testament. Verbatim. He's getting it from a specific passage. Let's find out what he's about to quote. And then let's go to the passage that he's quoting to find out if these are real Gentiles or not.
After this will I return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down. And I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, said the Lord who doeth all these things.
Now let's go to where he says, as it is written. Let's go to the verse where it was written, and it's going to give us a clear understanding if Peter was referring to actual Gentiles or Israelite Gentiles. And you be the judge.
Amos chapter 9 verse 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as the days of old.
This sounds like exactly what we just read. This is exactly where Peter's quoting from. As it is written. Now, let's find out if these are Israelite Gentiles or if these are actually authentic Gentiles that Peter was referring to in this same exact verse.
That they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, said the Lord that doeth this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Edom is a Gentile. Let me say it again. Edom is a Gentile. The Most High made sure he put Edom right here in the beginning, so there would be no confusion or no misunderstanding on if Peter is talking about real Gentiles or not. This is clear. This is clear. It don't get any more clear than this. Acts the 15th, Peter is referring to real Gentiles. And then you still got brothers, after seeing this exact precept, they will not accept it. We'll show you 1,000 scriptures and paint a picture for you and paint a picture for you and bring you 1,000 scriptures to prove that this ain't talking about real Gentiles. How do I know? I used to do the same exact thing, because you have to paint that picture if you want to believe all the New Testament Gentiles is talking about Israelites. You have to keep coming up with different lies upon lies upon lies. You have to keep doing that. So you have to make all the scriptures that are referring to real Gentiles, you have to make them become non-Gentiles or Israelite Gentiles in order to keep the doctrine going. But when I ran into Amos 9th chapter, that's when I knew, okay, there's no way that these New Testament Gentiles is talking about Israelites. There's no way. There's no way that all of them is talking about Israelite Gentiles. Some of them are, but the majority of them are not. Amos 9 is the deal sealer. There's no way around Amos 9. Yet the only way around Amos 9 is philosophy. Philosophy and you dealing with your own, coming up with your own doctrine. That's it. There's no way around it. Brothers and sisters that can't see this, for those that's coming into the knowledge, don't waste your time arguing with nobody who's dealing like that. And I'm talking to brothers and sisters that's in the knowledge. Don't waste your time dealing with nobody who's going to argue this. You just tell them, okay, brother or sister, you want to believe that? You go right ahead. Have fun doing it. I'm not going to argue with you. If you can't see this, I don't know what's going on with you then. Don't even argue with them. So now let's go back and tie it together with Acts the 15th chapter and Cornelius. Let's tie it all together before we get into the breakdown of Cornelius.
Acts chapter 15, verse 14. Simeon hath declared how God at first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name.
So now we know that these are actual Gentiles that Peter's referring to. Now we need to know, when did the Most High visit the Gentiles to take out a people for his name? You're going to find out that this is talking about Cornelius in Acts the 10th chapter. This is the reason why Cornelius did not make it down to Pentecost, because he was a natural, actual, authentic Gentile. He didn't have to go down to Pentecost. The law does not say that strangers or Gentiles have to keep the feast of Pentecost or any of the feasts. The Israelites, the children of Israel, are the ones that's commanded to keep the feast. So Cornelius was not out of line by not going to keep the feast. This is the reason he didn't go. And if he went, he wouldn't have been accepted. Because the Jews or the Israelites were not dealing with the other nations. They were not dealing with the other nations like that. So this is why Cornelius didn't make it down to Pentecost. Now, let's go to Acts the 10th chapter and find out about Cornelius.
Acts chapter 10, verse 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, and gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always.
If Cornelius was an Israelite from the northern kingdom, he must have not feared God that much, because he didn't make it down to Pentecost in Acts the 2nd chapter. He must have not really feared God that much, since he didn't bring his behind down there. But since Cornelius was not an Israelite, he's good. He's a devout man, and he gave alms to the people. Which people? It's talking about the Israelites. For you Gentiles out there, this is the role model for you right here, Cornelius. This is the role model. You need to follow the steps that he put out for the rest of the Gentiles. The Most High visited him in this chapter and to take out of him a people for his name. So this is who you need to be focused on.
On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance, and saw heaven open, and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners, and let down to earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts on the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air.
So now Peter is on the rooftop, and he's in a trance right now. He's having a vision, and he sees a sheet knit from the four corners descending down with all these manners of four-footed beasts and different unclean animals. And he's having a vision. And as we continue reading, it's going to tell you what these symbolizes. For the Christian church, this ain't talking about him waking up and eating pork. As we continue reading, it's going to show you what these unclean animals represented.
And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean.
Showing you, Christians, that Christ, Peter, the apostles, wasn't dealing with no pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. They weren't dealing with it. He says, I never ate anything common or unclean. But this was not referring to actual animals. This was symbolic. Watch.
And the voice spake unto him again the second time, What God hath cleansed, that call not thou common. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped him.
So at this point in the story, the Most High had already been dealing with Cornelius, and the Most High had been dealing with Peter at the same time, setting them up for when they met. He'd been given Cornelius dreams, and he had been given Peter dreams. So now they're finally meeting, and Cornelius bowed down to Peter. And watch what happens.
But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up. I myself also am a man.
Peter told him to get up. You don't need to be bowing down to me, because I'm a man just like you are. But Cornelius thought that was his respective place to come and bow down to the Israelites. That's what he thought was the right thing to do. But Peter told him, no, it's not the time for that. Let's read on.
And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation.
Now, if Cornelius is an Israelite, I should be able to find this somewhere in the law where it's unlawful for the southern kingdom to deal with the northern kingdom. I should be able to find this somewhere in the first five books of Moses. I remember when I used to teach this, and I brought this to my brother Sabalon from The Light of Zion. And I showed him this verse, and he said, brother, where is it unlawful for the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom to deal with each other? Where is that in the law? And back then, I wasn't trying to hear. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was actually saying. So the verse that I would give is Hosea 4, verse 17. Ephraim has joined himself to idols, let him alone. Then he say, brother, that don't have nothing to do with something being unlawful. Where does it say in the law that the southern kingdom cannot deal with the northern kingdom? Where is that in the law? Peter said it's unlawful. It's not in the law. But let's find out what is in the law.
Deuteronomy 7, verse 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hast cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor his daughters shalt thou take unto thy sons.
When we came into the land of Israel, it was unlawful to deal with all the inhabitants that was there. The Most High said not to make any covenants with these people because they would turn you away from serving the Most High. This is where it is unlawful to deal with other nations. And as you keep reading the books, the first 5 books of Moses, you'll find out that other nations became added to this list, like the Ammonites, the Moabites. There's more nations that got gradually added to this list. Let's get some more.
Nehemiah 13 verse 1. On that day they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever, because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit our God turned the curse into a blessing. Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude.
Why did they separate all the mixed multitude? Because it was an unlawful thing for one that is a Jew to keep company with one from another nation. That's what it's talking about, unlawful. Something in the law. They read in the book of the law, and that's what gave them the sense, hey, we got to get rid of all these mixed multitude that's around us. It's unlawful for us to be dealing with these people. That's what it's talking about. It ain't talking about the northern and southern kingdom. There's no law that says I can't deal, or someone from the northern kingdom can't deal with someone from the southern kingdom. There's no way that that's a law. How do we know? Acts the 2nd chapter. They were all there in one accord, northern and southern kingdom. And nobody was jumping up talking about, hey brother, you know it's unlawful for me to be dealing with you? No, that's not what was going on. And to add on to that, if I'm Cornelius and I'm an Israelite from the northern kingdom, and I'm about to deal with Peter, and all of a sudden he tell me it's unlawful for us to be dealing with each other, I'm going to look at him and say, Peter, are you a hypocrite? Acts the 2nd chapter, brother, you was just baptizing both northern and southern kingdom, telling them to repent. Now all of a sudden, 8 chapters later, it become unlawful for us to deal with each other? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. The foundation of that of Cornelius being an Israelite is already chopped in Acts the 2nd chapter. It makes no sense. Now, let's find out what the word nation means, or another nation means, in the Greek. Let's find out what this word means, and find out if it's talking about an Israelite from the northern kingdom, or if it's talking about an actual authentic Gentile. Watch.
Another nation. Strong's G246. Allophilos. Foreign. When used in Hellenistic Greek in opposition to a Jew, it signifies a Gentile, one of another nation. Acts chapter 10 verse 28.
It signifies, when it's contrasted to a Jew, it's talking about a Gentile, not northern kingdom. A Gentile. That's what it's referring to. It's not talking about southern kingdom can't deal with northern kingdom. It's talking about dealing with Gentile nations. It's unlawful. That's what Peter was dealing with. It's unlawful. Peter don't have amnesia. In Acts the 2nd chapter, he's dealing with northern kingdom. Then all of a sudden, he just forget in Acts the 10th chapter. He don't have amnesia. Peter knew what he was talking about. And the scholars are telling you. And the reference that they gave is Acts the 10th chapter, the 28th verse. Telling you that this is talking about Gentiles. This is not hard to be understood, ladies and gentlemen. This is what was going on during this time. That's why the Most High had to show him this vision. And another thing, let's add on to it even more. If Cornelius was from the northern kingdom, why would the Most High have to show Peter another vision to accept someone from the northern kingdom when he was already baptizing and dealing with people from the northern kingdom in Acts the 2nd chapter? It doesn't add up. It does not add up, ladies and gentlemen. It does not add up. It does not add up at all. So these are some of the things that have to be taken into consideration when dealing with these doctrines. You can't answer these questions. These questions cannot be answered if Cornelius is an Israelite from the northern kingdom. You just can't answer it. You got to come up with philosophy and try to paint 1,000 scriptures to paint a picture to make him become an Israelite, when it's not hard to understand. Acts the 2nd chapter lets you know.
And he said unto them, ye know that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But God hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
What the beast and the unclean animals that was coming down in the vision that Peter had, knit from the four corners with all the unclean beasts, it represented unclean men. Not pork chops for the Christians out there, not ham sandwiches, not pepperoni. It wasn't talking about that. It was representing the unclean Gentiles. The Most High was breaking down the barrier. Because when you go back to Acts or Amos, the 9th chapter, it tells you why. So he would put a name on the Gentiles so they would be a possession for the Israelites in the kingdom of heaven. That's what the whole thing is about. He's going to pick certain Gentiles to have the privilege to serve the Israelites in the kingdom. That's what the whole thing is about. Cornelius was the one who started it off. Immediately after this verse, when I was teaching Cornelius was an Israelite, I would go right to Ezekiel the 37th chapter to show the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom coming right back together as one fold and having one king. That precept has nothing to do with what's going on in Acts the 10th chapter. Nothing to do with that at all. We already seen in Acts the 2nd chapter that the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom were already dealing with each other. This prophecy in Ezekiel 37 will not come to pass until Christ returns. It's not going to come to pass. It tells you in the Apocrypha in 2nd Ezra that the Christ would gather the 10 tribes and bring them back. Then we will become one fold again. The ones that went in 721 BC over to the Americas. So that prophecy has nothing to do, that precept in Ezekiel 37 has nothing to do with what's going on here. Because the premise of the northern kingdom and southern kingdom beef going on in Acts the 10th chapter has already been chopped down in Acts the 2nd chapter. Has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. That's why I say once the foundation is chopped down, all the other precepts that come after are faulty. They're error. They don't go together because the foundation was already shaken.
Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons.
So now Peter understands that the Most High is not a respecter of persons. When I was teaching that Cornelius was an Israelite, I would say, well, that's not true because God is a respecter of persons. Then I would take you right to Exodus 2:25, where it says, the Lord looked down on Israel and had respect unto them. Not understanding what I'm reading in Acts the 10th chapter has nothing to do with that. It said God is no respecter of persons. God is a respecter of nations because he chose Israel, where his chosen people, of course. He chose us above all people. He's a respecter of nations, not a respecter of persons. A respecter of persons is dealing with an individual. We're going to get the precepts to prove that Peter was talking about individuals, not nations.
1 Peter chapter 1 verse 17. And if ye call on the Father, who without respect of persons judgeth according to every man's work, past the time of your sojourning here in fear.
The Most High judges according to every man's work. That was talking about he's not a respecter of persons in judgment. That's what he's referring to in Acts, the 10th chapter. He's not a respecter of persons. He's talking about every man's work. This has nothing to do with nationhood. It's obvious that the Most High is a respecter of nations. That's obvious. Peter didn't need to have a revelation about that. And if Cornelius is an Israelite, why does he need a revelation that the Most High is not a respecter of persons dealing with Israelites, when he just finished dealing with northern and southern kingdom in Acts the 2nd chapter? It doesn't add up. Why does he need this new revelation when he just finished dealing with both northern and southern kingdom in Acts, the 2nd chapter? Because Cornelius was a Gentile. He was a natural, authentic Gentile, ladies and gentlemen. That's what he was. Let's get some more on this respecter of persons.
Romans chapter 2, verse 9. Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first, and also of the Gentile.
So the Most High brings down punishment on the Jew first, meaning the Israelites first, then the Gentiles. That's what he does. We're living the punishment right now. It's us first, then when the kingdom comes, the Gentiles are going to have to serve their punishment. They're going to have to serve out their punishment. The Most High is not a respecter of persons. Let's keep going.
But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile.
To the Jew first, then to the Gentile. The Most High is giving out blessings and rewards for righteousness to the Israelites, his own people first, then to the Gentiles. But everyone gets the blessings if they do righteousness, because the Most High is not a respecter of persons. He's a respecter of nations, but not persons. If an Israelite is doing wickedness, he's not going to get a pass just because he's an Israelite. He's not. The Most High is going to judge you the same, whether you're an Israelite or you're not an Israelite. He's going to judge you. He's no respecter of persons.
For there is no respect of persons with God.
The Most High is not dealing with respecter of persons. He's not a respecter of persons. Let's not get it confused with respecter of persons and respecter of nations. He has respect for his nation. Israelites are the chosen people, no doubt about it. We know that. We are the chosen people. But respecter of persons, if somebody's doing right, Jew or Gentile, he's going to give a reward according to every man's work. Cornelius being the example.
Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him.
That's why he says in every nation he. This is dealing with individuals. This is not dealing with nations. Every nation, he that worketh righteousness is accepted. That's what the Most High is dealing with. There's people from each nation that are going to be accepted from the Most High to be servants and handmaids to the nation of Israel in the kingdom. That's going to be the order. That's what the Most High is dealing with. He's not dealing with nations, Gentile nations. He's dealing with individuals out of the Gentile nations. He has one nation that he's dealing with, the nation of Israel. That's it. The Most High is not a respecter of person. If brothers and sisters from other nations want to worship the Most High and keep his commandments like Cornelius did, that is their right, and that's their that's their option that they're able to do. The Most High will accept them. And you can read all throughout the Old Testament of the Most High accepting Gentiles for doing righteous things. This is not a new concept.
The word which God sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ. He is Lord of all.
The word that the Most High is no respecter of persons, and that the Gentiles now had a chance to come into the fold so they can be servants and handmaids in the kingdom. They can get their spot as servants and handmaids to the Israelites in the kingdom of heaven. That prophecy is now being opened up. That gateway is now being opened up. That's what the word was sent to the children of Israel. Because Peter was the one who got the vision. He's the one who got the understanding first. So now the word had to get taught to all the rest of the Israelites so they can know what time it is. So they can not be saying it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company with one from another nation. So they would understand that concept that the Most High is dealing with other people from other nations. And it's for a reason. It's for a reason. So that's the word that the Most High sent to all the children of Israel. So now we understand the situation with Cornelius. He was not an Israelite from the northern kingdom. He was a Gentile. The scriptures don't say what nation he was from, so I'm not going to speculate and tell you he was from this nation or that nation. All we know is that he was an actual Gentile coming into the fold. giving alms to the children of Israel. He was doing what he was supposed to do. That's what he was doing. That's the guideline for all the Gentiles coming in. Cornelius was not trying to bring Sunday worship to the Israelites. He was not trying to bring Christmas to the Israelites. Cornelius was not trying to bring white Jesus or Caesar Borgia to the Israelites. He was a man that humbled himself, and that's what the Most High was looking for out of the Gentiles. He had 100 men under him. He was a centurion. He was over 100 men, and he was still able to humble himself and understand his position with the children of Israel. That's what the Most High is looking for out of the Gentiles. Those are the ones he's going to take and take out of them a people for his name. Not stubborn Christians and that's doing Christmas and teaching the children of Israel to sin and stay in wickedness. He's not going to be dealing with those. He's not at all. So we know clearly that Cornelius is not an Israelite. He's not an Israelite at all. The premise of him being an Israelite is already faulty and chopped down in Acts the 2nd chapter once you examine it. Acts the 2nd chapter, that is the main chapter to go to if you want to find out if Cornelius is an Israelite. Breaking down Acts the 2nd chapter will tell you everything. You don't even need, after Acts the 2nd chapter, you really don't even have to go to Acts the 10th chapter at all. Just going to that will show you that this brother's not an Israelite at all. He's not an Israelite Gentile. He's not an Israelite foreigner. He's none of that. He's none of that. So when the premise is chopped down, that's why I say you have to make sure your premise is your premise is correct. Because if the premise is faulty, all the information that comes afterward is going to be faulty. And you're going to have to keep creating lies upon lies. You're going to have to keep creating scriptures, making up scriptures, telling people that this scripture don't mean that. Oh, it means this. Giving your private interpretation. That's what you're going to have to keep doing in order to maintain that doctrine. It's an exhausting doctrine to keep. Trust me, because you have to go to 1,000 scriptures to explain it. You got to go through 1,000 scriptures to explain, to make Cornelius an Israelite. But once you break down Acts the 2nd chapter, there's really nowhere else to go. Like, you cannot get around that. You can't get around that. Brothers and sisters cannot get around that. And I myself couldn't get around it, which is why I stopped teaching it. Anybody that's going to be truthful and sincere, they would stop teaching it. They just would stop teaching it. I had the brothers I taught it to, or I was teaching it to, I went and apologized. You gotta apologize. I went and apologized. That was not the correct breakdown. You brothers were right. You brothers were right. Cornelius was not an Israelite. You brothers were right. I apologize. Okay, let's roll. Let's keep it moving. Let's find out what else is going on in the scriptures. What else we can correct and what else we can come to an agreement with. Brothers that's sincere. That's one thing I respect about camps like the House of David and GOCC. I respect the elders. There's elders that have been in there 25 plus years, that when they see a doctrine that they have been taught that is incorrect, those brothers will humble themselves and stop teaching it and teach the correct doctrine. You can go on their page and on their website and see it, where they tell you, you know what, this is something that was taught incorrectly. Here's the real information. Or here's the information we came upon. You know how hard that is after 30 years of being in the game to be able to say, you know what, I guess that was wrong. I've been teaching this for 15 years. I guess that was wrong. Let me teach what the scriptures really say. That's who the Most High is going to keep teaching knowledge to. If you think that you know it all already, then that's it. You're sealed. Your mind is sealed already. That's the plateau for knowledge. If you believe that you know it all already and you won't accept scriptures for what they say, you've plateaued. And for brothers and sisters, I tell you, do not argue with brothers and sisters that are like that. If they want to believe that, fine. You go ahead and believe it. You can go ahead and believe it. I'm not going to argue with nobody, especially on clear scriptures. I'm not going to waste my time doing no argument. You want to argue and go back and forth? You go ahead. You can waste that energy. I don't have that energy. I don't have that energy. I don't have it. So that's one thing that I do respect about brothers like that in the House of David and GOC. There's other camps that are like that, but those camps have been in the game for a long time, and to be able to humble themselves, that shows you something about someone's character. Those are brothers that you would want to be under if you decide to go inside a camp. People that's not just going to teach you something that they've been learning and regurgitating. That's Christianity. That's what that is. That's Christianity. We're not dealing with Christianity. We're dealing with evolution of scriptures, evolution of knowledge, not Christianity. So with that, I hope everyone has been edified and I hope everyone is being able to learn something. And another thing, I will tell brothers and sisters to go and learn, or not go and learn, but go and view the other side of the story. Go and view the Israelite, or the Cornelius being a Gentile. I mean, being an Israelite. Go and view it. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hot breakdown. It's a hot breakdown. On the surface, it's a hot breakdown. It feel like it's rolling. It feel like you feel like everything is cool. It feel like this is it. But that's on the surface until you start digging underneath it and you say, hold on, this cannot be true. This can't be true. This thing don't add up. On the surface, it's hot, I'm telling you. So that was the mistake I made, is not viewing both sides. I only went with one side. Usually I always check both sides of the story to see how they add up. But with the Cornelius thing and the New Testament Gentiles, that's what I did not do. That's what I did not do. I made a mistake by doing that. I made a mistake by doing that. So I'm gonna tell you, brothers and sisters, to not do that. Always hear both sides of the story, and then you decide which one makes sense. Which one is the scripture saying? Which one is it? Which one is it saying? So check everything out, and always remember that there's some scriptures in here that people can't deal with when you're dealing with Cornelius being an Israelite. You just can't deal with it. Anybody that's sincere is going to say, you know what, you can't deal with them. You can't deal with those scriptures. You got to leave it alone. If not, let them brothers do their thing. Let them sisters do their thing. Don't argue. I'm not arguing.